So I was talking about the check type. So when you have a data and you want to verify if it is a string or a function or an object or a number or a boolean, you can call this function. And this is used quite often. So all api.common.checkType. Remember, check type starts with C small. Uh, it's actually a deviation from the standard, but that is how it has been introduced. So it is still like that. So check type dot string, and string is a function, so it's pretty inverse of the syntax of the standard, but that's how it is. And string accepts a parameter, and that parameter has to be the data, and then it returns true or false. So it has a secondary function called isType, which you will not use that because you will have to pass two parameters in that. So you already have a named parameters on check type, named functions on check type directly. Is equal to. So is equal to is also something that we call occasionally, and is equal to is not very oftenly used. Is equal is being used, and so api.common.is equal passing two data points, and then it will decide whether it is same or not. Now for objects, it will decide on few things, but for entities, if both are entities, then it will match the three properties, I underscore ID, category, and app underscore ID. If these are matching, then it will conclude that these are entities and both entities are same. Suppose you have a text, a long text, and then you say, I want to remove spaces primarily, then I can basically do that. Then if you have a HTML text and you want to sanitize, it will basically uh, do this. This sanitize function is for that. So if you now, where will this be used? Now this sanitize thing is automatically used right now on your multi-line text editor, because multi-line text editor allows you to simply put any HTML. So this sanitize is automatically applied there. If so, it has so many options, and then finally it actually calls a sanitizer API that is inbuilt. If you want to add a script tag dynamically uh, or add those things, you can use this add script. Occasionally used, but not quite common. So it is going to basically add a script tag. So this will be useful in some cases where you want to add a third-party library which you want to use for some reason. For example, you want to use jQuery, which is hosted somewhere. You can add a reference to that, which is generally not permitted by default, but you can add to your screen through this. Stringify is a convenience function that will help you convert a JavaScript object into a string. So we always use api.common.stringify and api.common.parse. Now, there are two parse functions on JSON objects. One is parse and one is safe parse. The difference between these two are simple. So actual parsing is done in parse function, but here it may throw errors for invalid inputs. Now, in some cases, you are just wanting to attempt a parse because you are not sure, you can use safe parse. So many situation I use safe parse. For example, if you have passed an undefined thing and it is creating problem, or if you have a ill-formed JSON string that you are passing, then those will lead to error. Now, if you just don't want to, you're just trying to verify if this given string is actually a object or not, JSON object or not. So in those cases, you can basically call safe parse. It will attempt the parsing, and if it was done properly, it will give you that object. Otherwise, it will give you back the same string. So let's say parse is only a convenience. Parse function is actually used internally. You will rarely use that. I have here parse for anything which is equivalent to a function, or a function was serialized. To reverse that into a function, we use parse_fn. Copy. Now, when you have to do a copy of one object into another, we use the spread operator, right? Dot, dot, dot. We use 3 dots to duplicate the object. But sometimes it doesn't create a deep copy. Now, for that, we actually use this copy function. We can now few more convenience functions. Instance of is something that is that we can check, and it is basically doing a check on the type. Shuffle. Now, if you want to just randomly shuffle a array, you can use this function. Get unique key. Now, this is used quite often. API.common.get unique key is used quite often. So you just want to have a randomly created UUID, universally unique ID, right? UUID. You can do that here, and you can specify a prefix of your choice by passing the parameter. Parameter is optional, but if you pass, it will be used as a prefix in that UUID. So it will generate a random number, and it will be prefixed by your input or field as a prefix. Okay. Now there are some this function. These are some mathematical functions. Calculate distance, not to be used here. Convert number into radian, and then some more mathematical functions like standard deviation, average, sum. These are useful when we do some mathematical analysis. For example, when we will have results and we want to find some kind of average or some standard deviation or a sum, simply we can use these utility functions. That is quite useful. Many times we use it primarily for display purpose in certain way, especially currencies. We use pause. Now this is very interesting and useful function. When you have a logic going on and you believe that or generally it is useful in asynchronous functions or synchronous functions, wherever you want to hold the logic for some time, simply make a call to pause. Now this is async function, so you will have to put await before this, and then whole of your execution will wait. Okay, so hide message, show error, hide error. The message will be in blue color, I think, and show error, it will be in red color. Yeah, color is red, here color is the default one. So you can pass a message, which is generally a string, and you can indicate that you want to only show this message. If there were other messages showing up, remove them all by passing this as second argument. You can also set a timeout. By default, every message is timing out. But if you want to set a different timeout, or you say never expire kind of thing, you can put the third argument and console log. If you want to also show this message in console log. Additionally, you don't want to type two statements which says api.common.show message as well as console.log that message. You can simply put it here itself. You want to close, hide all the messages. You can call this, and once all of show error, same as message, but it shows the content in red. Route to is a utility function. So from anywhere to anywhere, if you want to redirect, then you can use route to. Suppose api.common.route to and pass the path, application relative path. Reload. Now, if you want to load the entire screen, suppose your screen is frozen, or you just want to refresh your whole application, you can use this reload. So show dialog accepts the inputs, inputs has to be an object, and object has a very elaborate set of properties that you can put. So you can put title, resizable, minimized, anchor, title styles. Actually, not from here. It accepts multiple things and it expects a few things from here. So it is expecting ID, screen, app ID, what else? Props, okay. Comp, you can specify a comp directly. You can specify a content. Suppose you want to open a dialog with a simple text. You don't have to basically create a screen for that and then display. For example, when I'm saving, I want to show dialog. And remember, this dialog is a modal dialog. So when it is open, you cannot do anything else. Message is not modal. Dialog is always modal. Okay. So when you are opening this dialog, no more actions can be done. You can open multiple modal dialogues, but one over the other. So it creates a stack. The last one is always active. You can keep closing the dialogues one by one. You can have multiple, like I said, dialogues open one by one. But only one dialog will be active at one point of time. Accepts two arguments. The first one is a callback, then second is the ID of a particular dialog input that we have opened. So if I do not specify that, all of the open dialogues will be closed. If I specify the ID, then only that dialog will be closed. So that's and then similarly notify event. If you want to notify a particular component about a particular event, you can do so. Script. Okay, so now if we have something available and I want to apply a MD5 encryption, this is a utility function. Convert a buffer into base64. Normally this is useful for converting a image source into base64 equivalent. We use that. Something about payment gateways, Razorpay. That's it. So common